Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Big Talk About Small Business. And here it is. It's another, going to be a hot summer day today.
Mm-hmm.
Eric and I are in the office together in the studio here.
This is why we do this, Mark, so that we actually meet up.
I know. It seems like our travel schedule this summer is really kind of curtailed our meetings.
You know, that's actually a good topic, is about summertime. Like the cycles of business. If you're in business, like you got to kind of plan for these things. You don't know what they really are until after, some time in your business. Like it takes about 2 years to start understanding how your customer market, when they're taking off in vacation.
There is seasonality to almost every business. That's
Absolutely.
really true. People don't plan for that adequately.
Yeah, and I've found like, at least, and it's really about your specific geographic target audience too, and how they roll. I mean, because around here, I mean, like you just count off like new business in like mid-June through almost the end of July.
Yeah,
everybody's on family vacations.
Yep, it's true. Well, I think a lot of it too is like with the college population.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it heads out of town, all those professors like myself, we're off for the summer.
Yeah. You don't want to sign any new contracts.
Yeah, but then you got all those families too. All those people that have kids and everything, and they're off.
And then you got back to school.
Yep,
which is an impactful thing, right? I mean, retailers are usually profiting off all this.
I go to Target right now, and the shelves are bare.
Yeah,
I swear.
Yeah,
it's just like all the lamps and 5x7 dorm room rugs and all that are just like gone, man. That spreads.
Yeah, it's all out. It's all out of stock. So retailers are doing great during these holiday seasons, but a lot of other service type businesses, it's difficult. It's difficult to engage. It's difficult to get attention, and then it's hard on the team because the team is putting really 2 or 3 times the effort on trying to reach out and coordinate for people that are out of office.
Yeah,
it's disrupting.
Sure.
And then you got, you might as well count end of November, like starting with Thanksgiving.
I know.
Thanksgiving. And you might have a week in December at the very beginning, but then it's done.
Productivity goes to shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you got that 1 week in November and you got at least a week in December or more.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a seasonality and people need to plan for that. There's no doubt about it.
They do. They just need to be aware. Like, and then you got, from mid-December through probably after the first week of January, because people celebrate the New Year's and New Year's Eve, right? And everybody takes off. And then you get kind of back to business. It always seems like the hottest.
After the first of the year.
Yes.
It's like, boom.
Booyah.
The work just flows in.
It does.
People just buy stuff.
Just start signing it up. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. I know.
And then that causes, obviously the more contracts you start signing and sales that you have, the more work you got to do to execute on it.
Well, depending on the business, like if you're talking some of the B2B businesses that we're in, that's true. So true. And then you're like, oh God, now I got to do this.
Yeah, and then you gotta staff up to take care of everything, and then June hits before you know it, and you're kind of back in. You're like, okay, right, I mean, so you got to kind of just understand that, and I think obviously there is a thing about your revenue, making sure you're good, you can sustain through those things. But I think the bigger thing to me is like when you're meeting with the team, the morale.
Yes,
because it's easy to forget in the months of June and July. End of November and December, you start feeling like you start having these fears start creeping up about the business, and you might make some rash decisions like letting some folks go or whatever it might be.
Your stress shows up.
Yeah.
From trying to meet payroll with reduced revenue.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. If you hadn't planned before.
Right.
And then you start wondering if you're in the right business and the right market and whatever it might be. And I mean,
you got a lot going on in your head, man.
I do, man. I do.
You second guessing everything.
I know. I'm sorry, man. I guess it's just today. It's probably this moment. Do you ever second guess things?
Yeah, sure I do. Everybody does.
I think so. And that's one thing. I think that's a good point, though. A lot of people, like if you're an entrepreneur, like one of our big topics that we were talking about just before we started the show is the lonely road as an entrepreneur, right? I mean, because you need to, I think if you're in it, if you're an entrepreneur right now and you have a business, you need to understand that you're not in a unique scenario about feeling lonely.
Yeah, there's millions of us out there.
Millions.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't really talk about the loneliness of it. And then you got, if you're thinking about getting in business, you need to kind of understand that you will be at a point where you're pretty lonely.
Yes.
In this scenario, because there are, as humans, we do have fears and those things. But like sometimes it's difficult as an entrepreneur to be talking about that. I remember back in my history, like there was a certain period in my business, like where it was really lonely, but I couldn't even talk.
That was before you came to work for Swag White.
Oh yeah,
was that a lonely time for you?
You changed everything for me, though, man. You made me unlonely.
No, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, I remember that. I mean, back in '88 when I started my original company, that's today is Y Group. One of the reasons I moved out of my small apartment that was in my 2-family house that I owned, where I had my office, to an office was just to see other people.
Absolutely.
Just get up, get dressed. I'd put my suspenders and khakis on, tie and
suspenders, huh?
And my tweed sport coat. I mean, I was living in Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, we cut our grass like that.
Right.
Starched shirt on.
Right.
But I'd go to the office, and I got my first office was above Russ's Lunch, which was a little breakfast and lunch diner owned by a Greek guy named Costa. And it had this crazy cast of characters that were in the offices up above, and it was fun.
Yeah. Well, you have to like intentionally, proactively get yourself engaged.
Yeah. You have to interact with people.
You do.
And it really helped me a lot because it is lonely out there, and a good partner, a good spouse who is interested in what you're doing and understands some of the stress and all. That's super helpful. Right. Business partner is really helpful.
Absolutely. A business partner, first on the spouse thing, like kind of going back to my story, like there was certain things that I couldn't speak to my spouse about because it just, like, it's so complex, right? Like the things that are bubbling up in your conversation to your spouse have so much depth to them, like that they can't understand, right?
They just get scared.
They get exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They just get scared.
They get scared. That's it. They're like, well, then you should quit everything.
Or some do. I mean, like of course, I'm on wife number 3. It took me 3 times.
That's
to get it right, which always reminds me that I'm number 2 for her. But my second wife was really like that.
Really?
You couldn't explain. I mean, her first reaction was fear.
Yeah.
It just was, that's just the way she was programmed by her upbringing.
Yeah. A lot of folks, like in the partner you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like you say, like their upbringing, I mean, they might be afraid of not having security because if they've been in a position where things have not been secure, put together, organized. I mean, and then you're coming to the table with like some chaos that's been going on in your business.
Yeah, like huge potential losses or obligations
absolutely.
that you don't know how you're going to deal with.
Yeah, and business is mostly very high risk, right?
Right.
And, I mean, and so things are always kind of volatile, but I mean, like, so you have to, as an entrepreneur, know that it's okay that you're in that because that's really what you signed up to be involved in, right? Is some sort of loneliness and solitude scenarios. And then, but like to your point, how do you get yourself out of that? Showing up at places, you have to be proactive. You have to have mentors, I think, like in a big way.
They help.
Absolutely.
Can.
Yeah. I mean, just folks that you can talk to and get some inspiration from. And
I think, though, that you brought up a good point. I mean, the external validation of what you're doing is important to sustain your motivation. I mean, I don't want to just say I'm just externally directed, but inside your company, if you have people, they're generally critical.
Yes.
Okay, even if they don't say it all to you.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really what they don't say to you.
Right. But you go outside, they think you're great. You know,
they're like, Rich, you're a business, man. You're doing awesome, And I think a big rule, on that, I learned this a while back too, is if you are having problems internally and you convey that, whether it's through your tone or your disposition or obviously your words.
Yes.
Like that shit really starts an impact of it spreads basically. If
Yes.
you go tell if somebody says, "Hey, Mark, how's your business going?" and you're like, "Oh man, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah.
Trying to meet payroll. I'm got this debt. I'm not getting.
I wouldn't say that
sales."
to anybody but you.
I know.
Okay?
I know. That's my point.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's like
I'm not going to say that.
Right.
It's going to be good. Okay?
Absolutely.
Even if there's challenges, we got it figured out. We're going forward.
I think that's my point, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you convey that, because if you do, like that negativity will spread real quick.
It's toxic. It's going to kill you. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You've got to remain, if you're the owner and the founder, you've got to remain optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just had this discussion with somebody yesterday in a business I'm involved with. I said to the founder, I said, his morale's been good. He's been very positive. I said, that's the single most important thing.
Absolutely.
Nobody cares about the rest of us, okay? They don't really care. All they care about is you and what you're projecting out there. And if you're projecting optimism, we can do it, all that, then it's going to propel us.
It's almost like that's the number one thing an entrepreneur has to do, right? And that's a hard requirement. That's actually a lot more challenging.
It is.
Than I think that I've even given credit to, right? Like, I mean, your ability as an entrepreneur to always relentlessly see the vision, the positive vision, right? Where you signed up to go, why you started and begin with, because as you start going through challenges, it starts knocking your own motivation and vision down.
Yes.
And you can get lost in the weeds of that. And if you don't get your ass out of that and start seeing the light and the truth about what you're doing, you'll become your own self-toxicity.
It's true. I mean, I think you and I are pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Try to project a positive attitude, and there's always something you can do. That's sort of my thought, my motto. But in spite of that, we still have our moments.
Hell yeah.
Too. And I think if you're feeling like that, you may need to get out of there.
Totally.
Okay.
That's when you get,
because you're going to do more damage than you're going to do good.
You know what's worked for me a lot?
What's that?
Is I will get outside. Like I get out and, nature is a big thing for me. And this might sound a little corny, right? And I don't know if many people get it, but like there's been multiple occasions where I've had that overwhelming, where it's hard for me to see my own vision that I might have had. But when I go out in nature and I remember many instances looking at a tree, and hang with me for a second, because I'm sounding really weird right now.
Okay, you're getting trippy. You weren't eating mushrooms while you were looking at that tree.
I wasn't. I was completely sober and focused. But I remember just going through this turmoil, right? And I couldn't really talk to anybody because you're in that solitude position. But watching the tree and just starting to understand, like watching the chaos of nature. Mm-hmm. Because there's always something in nature. Like if you really stop and look at it, like it's always chaos. There's always problems.
It's funny you say that, because I was looking at ants the other day.
That's what I was just about to say.
And they're just like walking in this crazy. I'm like, why did they do that?
You're blowing my freaking mind right now, Swag. Because that's my story. Is I was looking at a tree and I started noticing the freaking ants everywhere.
Yeah,
crawling up. I mean, just busy as hell. Then you start realizing, oh my God, there's millions of these little things, man.
Yeah.
And they're just crawling. They're butting into each other, fighting. Then you got freaking other things coming up trying to eat their ass, And they're working relentlessly hard.
Yes.
And it's day in, day out. Work. And then my revelation is shut your freaking face, you pansy ass, about my own problems and get to work.
Yes.
Everything's got to work.
Doing something. I put a post on LinkedIn the other day like that. It's like, if you're not satisfied, freaking do something.
Yes.
Even if it's a minor task, accomplish something, do something.
Yeah.
Okay. Just action.
Take action like the ants do, right?
Yeah.
And here was another revelation I had. The second part was, Eric, nothing's fair. Mm-hmm. Everything's out to get everything.
I never really had that feeling of unfairness that I was, like, why me? Have you had that thought process?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I have. Well, but there was a couple of instances in my career, in my business career, where my intention and expectation was very positive and all those good sides, those good things. Whereas the other party,
well, I've had that feeling a million times.
Were very not like it was really surprising and shocking. Like
yes,
things that I grew up and taught, like don't hurt other people intentionally,
right?
Don't take,
right,
don't
and
steal.
They misinterpret your motivation and completely
and twist.
I've had that with students and with some people and organizations I worked with. Yeah,
so then I was like, why did this happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I have had that feeling. Completely.
But those ants taught me a good lesson. Is it really fair, that a freaking bird comes up and starts gobbling about, half of the freaking ant army? I mean, it's just the way shit goes, bro. Like, there's always something else.
Somebody survived, though, didn't they?
Heck yeah. Exactly.
I was thinking that the other day. I sit in this front porch in my house. Well, first off, I had an ant superhighway that went right down this expansion joint in my driveway.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Okay.
They found the path of least resistance.
Yeah. I after about 4 applications of RAID, I think I finally took care of that. But no, I was sitting there and I got these chipmunks that live in this little retaining wall. I've got this long retaining wall, goes down my driveway. It's probably 200 feet long. And I watched these chipmunks on that. And then we've got these freaking hawks that have wingspans of like 5 feet. Okay. And that chipmunk's out there walking around. It was sunny the other day. And I thought to myself, does that guy worry that like at any second this friggin' hawk could come down and just grab him and eat him?
Yeah.
Why isn't he scared even to go out of his hole? Okay. Because he's got to live.
He's got to live. It's time to, it's morning time. It's time to get up. Or if you don't get out and eat and find you a nut, you're going to die anyway.
Right.
But you go out there but that's when they're always freaking like, side head turning, man. Looking for that hawk to come kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's this, I think the moral to it is like everything, and even by design, there's threats, there's survival, and then if you have this vision, like you have to be like the chipmunk. You've got to get up and get after it. Like the vision is to survive. The vision is to build and to create,
right?
Raise up, and do things, improve.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Evolve.
Yeah.
Adapt.
But see, I think a lot of times we have these discussions and you and I sort of see things, a certain way, right? Mm-hmm. We're very similar in certain aspects of how we approach business and entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Some people out there have a different idea.
Yeah.
Their idea is I just want to make a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah. Let's get into that. Go on.
And so, there's an inherent lack of realism that goes along with that, I think, for a lot of people. It's just like I looked at a business plan this morning, and it was a pitch deck, rather, but it was pretty detailed. Mm-hmm. And one of the things in that they're out looking to raise some capital, and one of the things I notice is the 2 founders are paying themselves $150K a piece each.
Dude, how nice.
And their projected loss for the year is like $270.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That to me seems completely unrealistic. Mm-hmm. If they didn't pay themselves anything and had jobs or whatever, and were doing this business on the side, they could have made $30,000 and not sell any of their company.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
And so, I don't know. It seems like there's an inherent lack of realism some people have out there about what the likely struggle is going to be. We've talked about this before. I think pop culture has done a huge disservice. Mm-hmm. It's all about the idea and capital raising versus the implementation of it and proof of concept that people will pay for it. Mm-hmm. And it works. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's I think if you've got the attitude that you're willing to tough it out, that you're not going to make any money for a while, you're going to somehow scrap and survive, you have a much better chance.
You really do. And you learn. And I think that's like there is, you know, and I know we've talked about it, but like there's two different roads to start a business these days. You know, one is that age-old traditional, start it, work it, build it. I mean, you just
Start with nothing, bootstrap it.
Bootstrap it.
Yeah.
You
Don't
know?
suck all the money out of it. Put it back into
Keep
hiring
reinvesting.
and buying stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's that other one of where I'm going to go out and raise capital, get myself a salary. You know, the
Right.
investors might want that because they want you focused. You know, and there's all these, you know, but the investors win on that side, the biggest, right? That in the private equity firms and the VC firms and all that stuff, and eventually the public market. You know, there's a lot of winning going on in the big folks. I think that, you know, the disservice is if you're an entrepreneur that has a vision and you have a market demand that you're trying to meet and you're willing to sacrifice, you know, financially everything, you know, that's really the definition of an entrepreneur from my standpoint.
Yeah.
But you get pulled into this gamification, really.
Yes, that's what it is.
It is. I mean, and you know, you could be, you know, you could really do yourself a huge disservice with that because you're not able to, even if I had a vision and I raised capital for it, it's not my vision anymore. Immediately when I get that money.
You know, the golden rule, he or she who has the gold rules.
Period.
Is the bottom line. But, you know, I guess I've sort of learned over the years that a lot of this stuff depends on like when you take that money. If you do that too early on, it's one thing. If you do it later on, when you've got the discipline and the systems and the culture, it really can then fuel growth.
Absolutely.
And it has a much greater probability of working out. I mean, that's the difference in private equity versus venture capital.
Yep.
Right there. You know, private equity invests in established businesses that have a growth trajectory.
Yes. And they usually
there
don't come
may
in.
be
And they don't usually come in and start making decisions. They want you.
Well,
I mean,
hopefully
investing.
they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's obviously some bad apples, but there's really some good apples in there too, where
Right.
they really are putting money in to fuel it, so that
'Cause
they
they
can
have
get a
faith.
return. They have faith in the founders and the people running the business.
The ones that are strategic buyers that see your business as a platform for growth, those are the good ones.
Yeah.
You know, where they see you as the vehicle to
That's it.
grow.
Yeah.
If they just see you as one cog in a collection where somebody else is the vehicle for growth, that's not going to probably get what you want as far as accomplishment of your vision
Yeah.
in the long run, I think.
Yeah. You know, and I think the thing's funny, like my current experience of after, you know, starting a business or multiple and then having one that was able to build up and exit and sell. And then I'm back in the grind doing it all over again, which a lot of times I'm like,
Right.
I mean, just like 2 days ago, I was messing around with our CRM. I'm like, am I seriously doing this all over again? Because the CRM is such a nightmare. You know, it's like critical for the business. Nobody does it
Absolutely.
right. It's a team effort.
Right.
100%. Everyone's got to believe in CRM.
80% failure rate, super critical though.
Yeah.
Could be your biggest asset you have.
Yeah.
I
It's
get
your scale.
Right.
I mean, it's all right there. And I'm just going, am I really having to build freaking fields and criteria on where the lead source comes from for a lead? I'm like,
Do what you got to do.
yeah, you do. But I mean, you know, the funny thing is like, I don't know if it's, you know, when we're talking about capital raising, like right now, I don't want to raise capital necessarily because it takes so much time.
Yep.
It takes my time and my attention.
Away from your primary business.
Yes. And then I turn around, and if that gets in there, it just immediately complicates everything. Now I'm spending more time with my investment group and trying to explain the vision to them on a continuous basis.
Yes.
And then I got to worry about the next round of investment I need, you know, and then I got to hire a bunch of folks. And now, I mean, it's like double the impact of running this business.
Yes.
Whereas if I can just kind of keep creeping this thing up step by step, and we learn, we sell, we learn, we sell, we learn, we sell.
Yep.
And then to your point, I do see down the road in maybe 9 months or a year to where I'll be at this point. We might still be not where we really want to be profitability wise, but if I could bring in some fuel,
Yes.
some jet fuel, take less equity or give out less equity,
Right.
continue to have the team here that's running this business, and that fuel helps us go to the next level.
You can see the path.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like I was talking online the other day, or I read this article, and It was all about incremental growth and development. I can't remember the term they used, but basically the thesis of it was that doing things a little bit at a time when it comes to like developing a city is better than, here's the neo-urbanism approach. Create city in cornfield. Okay? Right. The evolutionary process, and it ends up with a better result than it does designing it with a clean sheet of paper. It's kind of like that with a business and what you're talking about. It's the same thing.
Well, and the beautiful thing,
you've got to go step by step, doing that CRM.
Yeah, man.
Getting that figured out instead of going out and raising $8 million and now...
And then you
hire somebody to
CRM experts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have a bunch of folks that
they lose complete control over it.
Yeah, and they don't understand the market. They're not put in a corner to figure things out because it's for the well-being of their business and their own payroll.
Yes.
It just causes so much backlash and problems. And and then you're just playing. Now you're in a game of salesmanship of where you're constantly raising capital. Selling the vision to the next person, and then it's chaotic.
It is, and like you said, the biggest problem is that it takes you away from your primary mission.
Which, by the way, if you're an entrepreneur and you have that vision, like you want to be in and running the bit, like in helping with the business,
want to be in the trench.
And to your point, like if you had a blank sheet of paper to build this city in this cornfield, and you got this idea of this culture. And then you fire hose it out. Like it's not going to have a culture that's the same as little by little. Like Fayetteville has a culture to it.
Yes,
a very deep ingrained culture of which it keeps itself in that realm, and everybody's just
keep Fayetteville funky.
But it stays funky because everybody wants to keep it funky.
I think Penguin Ed's daughter is the one who coined that term.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but it's
Liz Slate. You know her? Yeah. Okay, I'm surprised. She worked for a lot of these marketing big companies around here. But anyway, I think she's the one. But
but it's got a bona fide culture. Some of the other areas, I don't even know what their culture is. I mean,
Rogers Rogers is a great example of that.
Okay.
I mean, we're trying to replicate DFW area here, in my mind. And Rogers has all these distinct little pockets, like downtown you can't compare to the lake area, which you can't compare to the industrial area, which you can't compare to Pinnacle, where we are, right? Which is like freaking Disney World, all right?
It is. Yeah.
Gated communities and everything's new and shiny. And
it's nice. But there's not...
It doesn't have a defined culture, personality. I see what you're getting at. It's just all we just have here is like this crazy growth. But I want to go back to something for a minute. I want to go back down in the weeds on what you were talking about with the CRM.
Okay.
Because I've had businesses that you were involved in, and you know how critical that is. And it just completely relies on sending out outbound email. And people who say it doesn't work, I'm like, you're out of your friggin' mind. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. And yet, in spite of years and years of evidence that you have predictable response rates to certain emails, the company has some companies that do this make no serious effort to grow their list.
Yeah.
What is that about? It's like, if I get 0.25% response rate to my emails and I send out 100,000 of them and I get 250 sales or whatever that is, I don't know what that translates into. Yeah. Okay. Why wouldn't I build my list? So
constantly aggregating your list.
Yeah. So I could increase. I see so many companies that understand that. Well, first off, they don't use it enough because they're all afraid they're going to turn into spammers or be thought of. But the other issue, besides the frequency, is just building the list.
Yeah.
Build your list.
So you mentioned two things like don't send enough emails.
Right.
The answer to that is just you have to produce relevant useful content.
Exactly. So it's not just marketing content.
Yeah.
It's perceived as having other value to the receiver.
Yeah. People don't unsubscribe things that are relevant to them.
Right.
And helpful for them. So you have to have that foundation to begin with.
Yes, I agree.
And not become too salesy. But you can trickle in sales things. And that's when that sales messages really work, is when you're trickled in on top of really great
You
stuff.
got their attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in it for them.
Well, but that content is really, like, you already have that content. It's about building the practice of bringing that to the forefront. Everybody in the company has a message to help your customer out.
Yeah.
And you can't, I think a blockade for people developing that content, releasing it, is they don't want to give away their secrets.
Oh, I never had any fear of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't either.
No,
right?
I don't. I had somebody the other day that said, well, wait a minute. Well, I mean, like, listen, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like, number one, if I'm putting out my secrets or my business insight, like, people are not paying me because I know something. I have this secret box. They're paying me for the time and my expertise because I can do it 10 times faster than they can.
Right.
They
Or better.
And better.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's why they're paying me. That's the value, is the time.
Yeah, I know.
It's not about
I've
the
never
dollars.
understood that.
Yeah.
I've had people come to me with, I want you to review my business plan, but first sign my NDA. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, you don't have a secret box.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're afraid to share it with me, that I'm going to steal it, no.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. But you know, the thing about the list building, and I'm actually doing this right now within my company, is, you know, we're all like, how do we get more subscribers? And like, there's one missing fundamental thing, and I really want the team to learn this. Like, I mean, or else I'd just do all this myself, and there's not enough time. But it's like, you've got to have an excellent landing page of why somebody wants to give you your email address.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, and it's not the best in the world it can be, then all your efforts are in vain.
Yeah, the landing page is super, super, super critical. I get it.
And you got to be able, and you got to be able to see where I enter it in, and I got to see a picture of what I'm going to get in the email, and like, I've got to know that there's value to it.
I think some people who create this stuff in their businesses or ones they work for, they're so close to it, they cannot put themselves in the seat of the customer.
Yeah.
And so they know everything it does. They know I got to look down in that far corner where it says options to figure out that that's where the friggin' address of the business is or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of having like contact information or whatever. I mean, you see this over and over. They're so close to it that they can't really,
if they can't remove themselves to be a new person. Like, if they hear about podcast videos, they come to the site, like, there should be contact information.
Yeah, like, just what is podcast videos? What do we do?
Just hammer it.
How do we help customers, our clients?
And it's all simple stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that they get it figured out. You know, and then I think the other thing about the list growth is, you know, you have to have somebody that's out there looking to grow that list. And like, where do you go buy a list from? How do you partner with other
I've had bad experience buying and running lists. I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah.
Building your own is always better. And there's a lot of tools you can use today to scrape the internet and do stuff. And then you test, and if it's bad, you clean it out.
That's it. But that goes back to your CRM.
Yes.
And making sure, like, good data in constantly. Everybody that touches that tool has to be behind that vision.
If you don't use it yourself, they're never going to do it.
No.
As the leader.
Yeah.
You know, I go back to CRM.
Sure.
You know, we had a CRM at Y Group back in the early 90s running on a wide area network. And I say early, maybe as early as 1990, 91 on a wide area network that linked all our offices. And when you put a name in there, it would search automatically for dupes and go, is this the same person? And it would give you all the options. Fred White had that figured out.
That was critical to your success.
Oh, my God. It was so critical. And but see, I think a lot of people are more worried about keeping bad out than they are getting good in. That's another preoccupation with CRMs is
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Meaning they're more concerned about getting bad names out of the list than they are getting good names onto the list. I'm like, get the good names onto the list. If they're bad, okay, so they're bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can clean that out.
Yeah. Well, but our obsession is not to have, is to add more names. And
Yeah,
I'd rather spend the same energy on getting new than I would clearing out. It's like a sort of a false priority. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you can, on that. I mean, I remember back with this White, like as we were cleaning up, like we migrated a system to another one. I mean, that was a massive effort, but but once we got it in and we could start organizing, I mean, you can tag, you can run reports. I mean, like there's a lot of power behind that CRM, and it helps you scale.
So
it keeps everybody tight. I mean, I don't know how many businesses don't have a CRM.
It's just mind-boggling. Well, because your current customer is your best customer, too.
Yes.
So as soon as anybody buys anything from you, those are the people you want to be marketing to the most, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
I mean,
keeping them engaged and
yes,
like
and coming up with new things those people can buy because they already trust you and they bought once.
That's it.
So yeah,
so true.
That's my other thing. I love just coming up with new stuff to sell the same clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's always their customers. That's always been something.
And it doesn't have to be anything super brand new and grandiose. It just needs to be a little bit of an add-on, just another role of added service. And then, but you got to let them know about it.
Yep.
They got to know that that's available.
And now, I want to take this and tie it all back into the seasonality topic we were talking about first.
Yeah.
Because if you know that there are certain seasonality aspects to your business, do you just accept that and go, okay, well, my revenue is going to be less in July or whatever?
Love this.
Or do you say, you know what? Historically, our revenue is less in July. What the hell are we going to do this year so that doesn't happen to us?
Yes.
Okay. What action can we take in anticipating that?
And start doing that in April.
Yes.
And in May.
Yes.
And then you're ready.
I that was really taught to me early on. I work for bike shops, all right?
Yeah.
So the first bike shop I worked at was a hole in the wall in a basement of a buy-glass place. It was terrible. It was in a back alley, all right? But I couldn't go in there since I was a kid. As soon as I got my driver's license, I went to work for the big store that sold Schwinn in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Owner had 3 stores, maybe 4. I don't remember now. But it was on the main road. It was a really nice retail environment. We had like 10 or 12 guys in there. We had uniforms. Okay. It was a serious business. Okay. The third guy I worked for recruited me directly, called me up at that place and said, I've heard good things about you. I want you to come to work for me. He ended up having 10 stores. He had a mail order business. He had a touring company. He had we were in products made in Taiwan to our spec that copied name brand products. It was early at that. But my point is, this guy's name was Don Humphreys. So all the bike shops I worked at, now one of them sold motorcycles and stuff too, limited amount of that. Then the next one was only bicycles. Mm-hmm. The guy had 10 stores. He was only bicycles. But he said, you know what? The winter sucks. I mean, we had such high volume. We could buy stuff cheaper than anybody else, and we were relentless marketers on the radio. It was a blast. But the thing he did is he said, you know what? We got to combat seasonality. We started selling cross-country skis in the winter. The build up to Christmas, promoting cross-country skiing in friggin' St. Louis. I mean, think about it. Okay, the weather's basically the same as it is here.
Yeah.
Okay, there's not that much opportunity for it. Right. But it's like he wasn't going to just lay down and accept the fact that our business dies in January every year. Because there's a big buildup to Christmas. And then it was just like,
Yeah.
We're going to we're going to start selling cross-country skis in September. And we're going to sell everything we can to promote cross-country skiing.
Nice.
That was my first illustration of a model to combat seasonality in the business.
And it worked.
I mean, it certainly helped us.
Yeah.
We stayed in business. Okay.
Yeah.
We were thinly capitalized.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was so thinly capitalized. I remember several times you'd be working away and the power would go off. And the Union Electric car would like shoot out of the parking lot at high speed because they just cut us off. Because Don hadn't paid the bill.
Love it.
It was just on a shoestring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of businesses, if they looked at that, they would start thinking about it differently. What can we do? What do we need to sell now that's going to combat that?
Retailers have done, Walmart has done a fantastic job with that, right? I mean, like they probably have 20, 30 different events that happen every year.
Right, and they sort of string that all together in this giant model, so there's always something.
Yes. Back to school, Valentine's, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, backyard cookout, 4th of July. I mean, they've over the years just built this very fantastic plan. And can you imagine the amount of coordination and work you have to do to have the merchandise hitting the shelves at those exact moments, along with the marketing, the promotions?
Yes, it's a huge endeavor, undoubtedly.
But that's how they keep rolling.
Right.
That's how they keep
because they're paying attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
They're not just dying. They're not just saying, I was in a restaurant the other day, and restaurants in Fayetteville die in the summer because we got 30 some odd thousand students are gone, and then half the faculty and staff is gone.
Yeah.
Which is small compared to the students, right? But I thought to myself, what are these people doing to increase their business in the summer? And you know what the answer I came up with is?
What? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing. There's no sales. There's no promotions. There's no, hey, let's have a special party on Thursday nights.
Right.
There's nothing. There's just not a damn thing.
Just sit there and die.
Just sit there. Don't increase your Instagram posts.
No.
Don't do anything.
Don't send out direct mail. Don't get on the radio. Don't do emails. Just die.
Just die.
The funny thing is we were just talking about this recently here at this company, and I won't call anybody out, but really the whole team was just like, well, this is just because of this, the vacations, and it's just like, that's the answer.
Yeah. No.
And that's the job as the entrepreneur, is to say, wait a minute. And I mean, I said that exact thing. I'm like, okay, next year we're not going to go through this seasonality again. I'm like, how do we get ready for that and promote ourselves through it with a new product offering?
Well, yeah.
Or something.
The car wash business, I got a friend that's got a whole lot of them, all right?
Yeah.
And obviously it's like proliferating around here insanely. I mean, we've got 3 or 4 new ones in Fayetteville alone. One of them is his. But it was changed dramatically by the subscription model. Mm-hmm. That took the peaks and valleys out of their business. That was just horrible.
Yep.
That's why everybody's getting in the car wash business now.
Yep.
Because, so you're saying, what can we do? Well, that's what we can do. We just charge everybody every month, and they forget that their credit card's being dinged.
Yep.
And some months they're going to burn a lot of car washes, and other months they're not going to do any car washes because they're not even here or whatever.
About that, like that's such a critical leveling out of that problem, but it's a very simple answer to it.
It is, and think how long it took people to figure that out. How many car washes are in this country? When did that model really start? Not that long ago.
No, it was like a few years ago. I remember one of the first ones, membership.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. I can spend only $10 per month versus $15 for one car wash. I'm in.
Yeah, why doesn't somebody do that with restaurants? They tried with that dollar slice club, but the problem with that was you had to pay in order to be able to buy the pizza. That's not the idea. The idea maybe is a certain amount of money per month, and you just eat.
You can eat all the damn pizza you want.
You just eat it.
And people usually
change the model.
They'll take advantage of it the first month, and then they'll start graduating.
Minimum 12-month contract.
Yeah.
So you can't just cut it off.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a gym membership.
Yeah,
except it's pizza.
That's it, man. And who doesn't like pizza more than working out?
I know I do.
Yeah, I do too, man.
But yeah, so there's always things. It's amazing how long it takes people to really think about these issues and take some actions to stall them off. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very interesting. So many small business owners just lay down and die, and they accept it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the home building business, I certainly saw that before. It's like, well, interest rates are high, so we can't sell anything now. How about find people who buy shit that don't have any interest?
Right.
Do you ever think about that?
People that have cash?
Yeah. What do they want?
How do you, I mean, and then start thinking about how to market to them relentlessly?
Yeah. And how to build a product. I mean, marketing includes what's the product they want, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you change direction.
Yep. That's so true.
Pivot.
Oh.
Pivot, as we say. Right?
That's right.
But I mean, yeah, there's instead of just letting the external environmental circumstances dictate to you your success or failure.
No, it's so true. It's so true, man. I mean, you know, right now, I feel like that the business that I'm in, it's at that relentless marketing time. Like we've done some, right?
Right. Yeah. You've done a really good job.
It's like branding. How do we turn it up? Like, really, like, go with multimedia approach and a mass approach along with direct one-to-one, you know, and that type of stuff. But it's interesting. There's a certain point to where you can really just turn that engine up and start driving, you know, like soliciting and driving them, promoting that business back into your business because you're ready to handle some of that.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And so with marketing promotions, to your point, you got to have a product to reach out to them. So you need to, you see the cycle, the seasonality coming. You have to back it up a quarter. What's the product? Let's face this thing. What does the market
What's
want?
the capacity we need to be able to,
Yeah. And then does everybody understand this pricing model? Does everybody understand how to receive the phone call? Are we all aligned to that? And then hammer.
I just got an idea for your business.
What's that?
My idea, so I think about my friend with the car washes, okay? You know how he promotes, he comes into a town, it's just free for like a month or two.
Yeah.
Absolutely free. What if you gave a free podcast away?
Yeah.
Just anybody, you could say, look, you just get one.
Yep.
Yes, there's a cost to that. But a certain number of those are going to go, wow, this was great.
Yeah. Introduce
I love the process.
Studio. Yeah.
I love the people. I love the final product I got. We sent it out. We got a great reaction.
You want to do that? I'll do that.
I mean, you could pick up 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, whatever I mean, you got to figure out if that's worth it to you.
Yeah.
But that could be a really good model.
Yeah. And just do that. Like especially
demonstrating.
And especially in a season where it might be a little bit down.
Yeah, you've got the capacity.
Yes. Sell, right?
Yes. Maybe you don't do that all the time. No. It's just right at this point in time. Yeah.
Just a blitz.
Yeah.
Blitz of freeness.
I think that could be a really good thing to try.
Yeah, that's good. Let me give it a shot.
All right.
Yeah,
I love it.
Mark for that idea, man.
It just came to me. But because I was thinking about the car wash thing.
Yeah.
It's like my friend says, nothing is a better marketing than I experienced it, and it was good.
That's it. And
that's where you get the real word of mouth instead of I believe in word of mouth, but I do nothing. I do absolutely nothing.
Well, to have word of mouth, you have to have an experience.
Yes.
To tell people about.
Got to get there in the first place.
That's it. That's it, man.
But I think a lot of businesses, the owners need to, honestly, they got to get back more involved and get engaged.
Yeah.
Maybe they get discouraged because they got nobody to talk to. I don't know. But they sort of retreat into inaction.
You can't do that. That's your first. I mean, like I heard a saying the other day. It's so simple. Stop moving, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's true for health. You know, you shared that with me a long time. I mean, you're always freaking doing something, right? But I mean, like, it goes for health. It goes for vehicles. If you don't drive a vehicle, it's going to deteriorate.
Yes, it does.
Everything. If you don't mow your yard,
they used to have too many cars at once, and the batteries were dead, and the tires were flat.
Yeah, it just isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
passivity, lack of action. Things just die. They
deteriorate quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the answer to all this is like, just like when we were talking about in the beginning about the ants, like the reality is that everything has to be in positive motion. You have to constantly be pushing. And it gets hard, right? I mean, like sometimes, like you get tired, you get exhausted, you have negative things that happen and it takes your attention. But
what's the alternative though?
The alternative is to die or you take action.
Yeah, because it's going to be negative if you don't take action and you just getting lazy.
Yeah.
You're not going to be happy like that.
Or you get depressed and sad.
Yeah.
You know, and you're really good, like, you know, all these things we're talking about, like even like building the email list. Like, what are these? I think one thing that's challenging for entrepreneurs is like you have so much going on. Where do you focus?
Yes, of
Where
course.
do you take the action?
Oh, yeah. The priority setting is a huge deal.
You know, and we went through a few episodes about Mark Zweig's like checklist of finances, right? But you got finance, you got marketing, you got human resources. Like there's all these things that, and then you have the experts that come in, and then people learn from big corporations. They come into a small business, they try to implement big corporation things that don't work in small business, but you as the entrepreneur, you're thinking, okay, that somebody else has it figured out. I'm going to read this book, I'm going to apply this, you know, but the reality to it is that, you know, it's really a simple thing of some very key things that you take action on. Some things have to go to the back burner. Some things need to move up to the front. But, you know, like what I zero back into is revenue and sales.
Amen to that, brother.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything
drives everything.
Dude, it does.
Drives everything.
You know what I'm saying?
I hate to give up a single revenue dollar too. The MBA syndrome is, well, we don't make any money on that, so we're going to cut that. I'm like, you cut it. We lose $150,000 a year on that. Yeah, but how much overhead does it pay? $200,000. Okay, so we cut that out. Now we lose $200,000. That's great. Now we're out. You're brilliant. Okay, that's right. You're so freaking brilliant.
That's it. There's levels and there's you know, timelines of when you need to start But my opinion is if somebody buys me, let them cut all the things and get down to the profitability. If that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to see that revenue come in, man.
Love it all.
I love every bit of that.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That is something I've fought people on so many times. The professional manager approach versus the entrepreneur approach.
Yeah. And then it's like, where do you invest money? And my thought is, like, whenever I think about investing money in this company, like, does it tie to sales? Does it tie to bringing back something? Like, do I, you know, one of the big things in the moments that we're in is like, okay, we drove sales, we built our team around that. Now, if we're selling bigger clients, and it's like, I don't want to I know I can get to a certain level of client, but I know that demand's going to be like, they're going to have an expectation.
Yes.
And this particular side of the market only has this much expectation.
Right.
So I fill in the hole of somebody that can handle the next level's expectation.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to be ready to go out and start selling to that level.
Right.
But I don't want to sell somebody something
and then have a bad experience because you're not ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
it is an art, though. I mean, sometimes you do have to do that. But, you know, maybe you got time once you do to get ready to deliver on the expectation.
You do. And you have to kind of gut feel that out. Like, are we ready? Or, I mean, you know, and I think some of that comes with experience, right? And I already have done some things, but I mean, you know, to the other model about raising capital, they'll raise all this capital and do all this at one time.
Yes. You waste a lot.
And waste so much time.
We look at these electric motorcycle manufacturers, and it's like they raise $70 million and burn through it in 2 years or whatever. I'm like, how do you even do that? How do you even do that? Yeah. Of course, you know.
Well, the game is that they try to get some sort of product that has a lot of opportunity, and they sell it out on an idea that somebody else has the money to pour into it. And then it goes to these next levels. But that game is so risky, man.
Oh, my God, it is.
Like, nobody hears about all the other ones that didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then all the micro investors that put their money into bad investments, you know, and then and no one has control. What I don't like about investing is like, I don't ever hear about progress. Like, I might be invested in certain companies or whatever, but I'm like, what's going on?
You've got to inject yourself. I mean, that's my experience. You can't just let it go. You've got to, you know, you got to keep throwing yourself into it to figure out what the hell's actually going on there. Well, look, we're running out of time. It's been fun. Summer's still on. I'm off next week to a board meeting.
So I'm going to have to roll solo in this puppy.
Right.
With the guest.
You could also be at that board if you so chose.
Well, yes. Yeah, because you'll be out of town.
It's the same
I'll
one.
be there remotely, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be off next week. And then the weekend.
And summertime's fishing time for me. Like, people don't forget that, like, man, I'm going to be on a river.
We're taking a 2-week road trip after that. We don't even know where we're going.
That's awesome.
So
are you taking an RV?
We do it every year.
Just jump in an RV and go?
No, we've had all the RVs. We're done with that. It's like, shit, I'll stay in a nice hotel. I'm sorry.
I've been feeling that myself.
It's it's too much trouble. My RVs were always broken. I always needed to do stuff with them.
And you have to go set them up. You have to plan ahead. I mean,
planning ahead on a spot, you could be like months out and they're sold out where you want to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you got to know which spots are good.
And then
all that.
You book all that, and then the weather's terrible, and you're driving a big RV, and it's like a big sail.
4 miles to the gallon, and it cost me freaking $200 a night to stay, whatever. I'm just, the thing is depreciating faster than the Titanic sank.
Something's always breaking because you have a house on wheels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now we're out of that. I never say never to another one. Like if I ever got another one, I'd probably, we would get like one of these like Sprinters or something that's manageable.
Yeah.
With a diesel that gets good fuel economy.
And you can get in, you can zip around and
yeah. That's our thought process. But no, we're going to go somewhere. We used to go to New Mexico and California, Colorado, places like that in the summer. We don't know where we're going to go this year. We may go visit some friends. We may head up north where it's cooler.
Nice.
We may go to the beach. We haven't decided yet.
Sweet.
Sonia drives, so that makes my life a lot easier.
Actually, do you feel comfortable about that? Like, I can't. Do you really? I can't.
Great driver.
I can't ride shotgun, man.
She's a great driver. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to be off for a little bit. We may have to recycle some content out there to our listeners.
Maybe so,
but we'll see.
I mean, or maybe I'll start inviting people.
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're the man here, right?
No,
you are. This is the Mark Zweig podcast.
No, it's not. It's as much yours as it is mine. So invite your guests.
All right,
and plow ahead. But in the fall, we're going to be bringing some new guests on that I think are going to be very interesting for our listeners.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned one earlier today. It sounds really exciting.
We'll see if we can stray a little and make it relevant for our audience out there.
Well, speaking of, I mean, like if you want, like we get actually quite a bit of folks that are reaching out, wanting to be on the guest. Like we love that.
Yeah.
Like it's great meeting new people.
We enjoy it
all across the country. I mean,
yes. The thing I just want to emphasize, though, to our listeners, we're not necessarily interested in one-person companies who are trying to sell something to our audience.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We want to see people who've done something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have a good story to tell.
That's right.
That's what we're looking for.
It's about entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
It's about advice to them, like how you fight this battle.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be big companies or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we want people who've done something, not are just selling some trendy bullshit.
You know what I like? I did, and like I learned a lot because that one guest we had, I can't remember his name, but he's in Canada, has the lawn company.
Right.
But he talked about that open book management.
Right.
I mean, I actually started digging into that.
Right.
And we're doing it now in our business.
Open book is great.
Dude, it's great, man. I mean, every Monday, starting to show all the team our financials.
Yep.
And it's amazing how they react, right? Because they start thinking about the expenses of the company and what's going on. And stuff.
Yes.
So this is good content, man. I mean, I mean, all these different experiences. Everybody has one. There's not a secret, specific way to start up a business and be an entrepreneur.
None. There's many different paths one can pursue.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Until next time, this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
I just wanted to hear you say it for once, man.
I'm just saying it like you. I would say it like this. Until next week, we'll see you. In the meantime, check out www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com.
I mean, I kind of like that.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.